You've probably spent your whole life feeling different from everyone else without knowing why. On the outside, you seem fine, calm, functional, everything under control. But inside, your brain is working triple time just to fit in. For years, psychology assumed autism was always easy to spot. But there's a quieter version that almost no one talks about. Today, we're uncovering 10 everyday habits that are actually signs of a brain wired differently. Stay until number 1. It's the most unexpected, the most tender, and the one almost no one admits out loud for fear of being judged. Number 10, the auditory processing delay. This one probably happens to you every single day. Someone says something. Your immediate automatic response is, huh? And then, half a second later, before they even have a chance to repeat themselves, your brain quietly finishes decoding the sentence, and you answer perfectly. It's not that you weren't paying attention. It's not a hearing problem either. Your ears work just fine. The issue is that the path between receiving the sound and converting it into meaningful words takes your brain a few extra milliseconds. It's like watching a movie where the audio is just slightly out of sync. You catch up. You always do. But there's a brief gap. That is your brain buying time, a reflex you develop to give yourself those critical extra seconds to organize incoming information. In louder environments or fast conversations, that delay gets wider and you might nod along and realize 30 seconds later that you only caught half of what was said. It's not distraction, it's not rudeness. It's a genuine difference in how your auditory cortex processes language in real time. Tip: if you're in a fast conversation and the delay is kicking in, it's completely okay to say, "Give me a second." Not because you weren't listening, but because your brain needs that moment to land. Most people won't notice. And the ones who do will respect you for it. And speaking of your body doing things its own way, let's talk about how you sit. Number 9, the way you sit. If I asked you right now to sit with both feet flat on the floor, back straight, the way you're supposed to sit, how long would you last before it became genuinely uncomfortable? Probably not very long. Neurodivergent people rarely sit the conventional way. One leg pulled up under you, sitting on your own feet, crossed like a pretzel, not with knees up to your chest, wrist bent and tucked close to your body like you're bracing for something. Curled sideways in a chair that was clearly designed for a very different kind of sitting. This isn't bad posture or a lack of discipline. Your body's doing something deliberate, seeking compression. When you fold a limb under you or tuck your arms in, you create pressure that sends your nervous system a grounding signal, a feeling of solidity, of being contained, of knowing where your body ends. Sitting with your legs dangling freely can feel genuinely destabilizing, like floating without an anchor. Your body has been solving for this your entire life. The positions you've landed in aren't random. They're the ones that make you feel most settled inside your own skin. Tip: if sitting normally feels uncomfortable, that's your body telling you it needs something different. Honor that. Compression calms your nervous system. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself what actually works. Number 8, fake eye contact. We're taught from childhood that looking someone in the eyes is a sign of respect, attention, and connection. But for a neurodivergent brain, direct eye contact isn't natural. It's intense, invasive, and often overwhelming in a way that's hard to put into words. Neuroscience has found something fascinating here. In the autistic brain, a direct eye contact activates the amygdala, the part of your brain that detects threats. So holding someone's gaze doesn't feel like connection. It feels like confrontation. And so, without anyone teaching you, you developed a workaround. You look at the person, but not at their eyes. You focus on the space between their eyebrows, their mouth, or the bridge of their nose. Or you go slightly out of focus, letting your gaze drift just past them as if you were looking through them. When you've done this for so long, it feels automatic. And it works. Most people have no idea. But here's why. When you look directly into someone's eyes, your brain receives so much emotional information at once that it stops being able to listen. You have to choose. Either I watch you or I hear you. And to survive socially, you learn to fake the watching so you could actually do the hearing. Tip: next time you feel pressure to make eye contact, Why look at the triangle between someone's eyes and mouth? It reads as attentive to them, and it costs you far less neurologically. Number 7, walking on your toes. You might do this without even realizing it, especially when you're barefoot at home, when you're tired, or when you're thinking hard about something. Moving through a room on the balls of your feet, heel barely touching the ground like you're trying not to make any noise. There are 2 reasons your body does this. The first is sensory. The heel is a high-impact point of contact, and every step sends a vibration up through your leg. For a nervous system that's already processing a lot, avoiding that impact reduces the sensory input coming in, a quiet way of turning the volume down. The second is vestibular. Walking on your toes tightens the calf muscles and sends a grounding signal to your brain, similar to the feeling of being held or wrapped tightly, helping you feel more present and anchored. If you catch yourself tiptoeing down a hallway or going upstairs only on the front of your foot, it's not just an odd habit. It's your nervous system finding a way to regulate itself through movement. And it's probably been doing that since you were very small. Tip: if you catch yourself doing this and it helps you regulate, let it happen. Your body knows what it needs. It's not weird. It's your nervous system finding balance. Your body finds its own ways to regulate. And so does your mind, especially when someone asks you about something you love. Number 6, info dumping. Someone asks you a casual question. Do you like coffee? A typical brain says, yeah, I love it. Your brain doesn't work that way. It opens a database. If coffee is one of your deep interests, you feel a near physical urgency to share everything you know. The origin of the bean, the difference between roasts, the exact water temperature, the history of the Italian mocha pot. You get excited, you talk faster, and by the time you notice, the other person stopped tracking 4 minutes ago. This is called info dumping, and it's not showing off. For people on the spectrum, sharing information is a love language. It means this thing matters to me, and I want to give you something that matters. The world reads it as arrogance, but what's actually happening is pure, unfiltered connection expressed in a way most people don't immediately recognize as warmth. Current tip: try pausing after a minute and saying, I could keep going on this forever. Do you want me to? It gives the other person a real choice and often leads to better conversations than you'd expect. If you've recognized yourself in more than 3 of these, take a breath. You're not alone in this, and you're not broken. Let's keep going. Number 5, an unbreakable sense of justice. Elementary school, someone cuts in line for the water fountain. Everyone else shrugs. You're furious. Not loud furious. Quiet, burning. This is wrong, Furio. Fast forward 20 years. Someone cuts in line at the coffee shop and that same anger rises in your chest. Sharp, disproportionate, impossible to ignore. You have an internal radar for fairness that you simply cannot switch off. And you genuinely don't understand why everyone else isn't equally bothered. Someone tells a small lie and it bothers you all day. Someone changes the rules mid-conversation and something inside you locks up. What hurts is simply that it's wrong. The neurodivergent brain organizes the world into systems. When someone breaks a rule, it feels like the entire framework has been violated. This makes you one of the most loyal and honest people in any room. But you carry a lot of frustration in a world that rarely works the way it logically should. That's not a defect. That's a compass most people don't have. Tip: when injustice fires up and doesn't affect you directly, we ask, is there something I can actually do here? If yes, act. If no, name it and let it go. You don't have to fix every broken system. Number 4, hypersensitivity to food textures. This is not about being a picky eater. This is an involuntary physical reaction you cannot override by deciding to be more flexible. For a neurotypical brain, eating is primarily about taste. For yours, it's a full tactile experience. And certain textures register as something closer to discomfort or mild pain. Mixed consistencies are often the hardest. A yogurt smooth until your spoon hits an unexpected chunk of fruit. A sauce that changes texture as it cools. 2 foods touching on the plate. That's why you have safe foods. Things that always taste and feel exactly the same. Eating the same meal for days isn't boring. It's predictable, and predictability lets you eat without spending the whole meal managing your nervous system. That's not rigidity. That's not a choice. Tip: in a social situation, it's okay to eat around what triggers you or stick to what feels safe. You don't owe anyone an explanation. If you want to expand your safe foods, do it on your own terms. One texture at a time, no pressure. Textures aren't the only thing your body processes differently. Space is tricky too. Number 3, spatial dyspraxia, or as most people call it, just being clumsy. Quick, look at your shins right now. See that bruise? The purplish one? You have absolutely no idea how you got it, do you? That door frame you've walked through 1,000 times somehow caught your shoulder this morning. That table corner, the one that's been there for 3 years, found your hip again. Your hand reached for a glass and landed an inch to the left. This happens because of a difference in proprioception, the internal sense that tells your brain where your body is in space. For many people with high-functioning autism, this map is slightly blurry. So you misjudge distances constantly. You think you cleared the door frame, but your shoulder catches the edge. You've bumped into the same corner of that table dozens of times, the one that's been there for years. You reach for a glass and your hand lands an inch to the left. Things slip out of your hands. You trip on flat ground. People call it being clumsy. But what's really happening is your brain is juggling so many things at once. Reading social cues, filtering sensory input, managing your internal world. The tracking where your limbs are gets pushed to the back burner. It's not carelessness, it's a processing hierarchy. Tip: before you reach for something or move through a doorway, take one breath first, just one. That half second of pause gives your brain time to update its map of where your body is. It sounds too simple to work, but it does. Number 2, echolalia, the internal DJ. There's a word or a phrase or a sound, maybe from a video, maybe from a conversation last week, maybe from something you read, that keeps replaying in your head. You might whisper it to yourself, repeat it under your breath, and you might have been doing it for 3 days without fully noticing. Or maybe you make sounds when you're concentrating, clicks, hums, a soft whistle. Or you find yourself repeating a word someone just said, quietly, immediately after. Almost like you're tasting it. Think of it as your internal DJ. When your brain keeps replaying a track, not because it's broken or stuck, but because that track is doing something real for your nervous system. Certain sounds and phrases have a texture, rhythmically, phonetically, that your brain finds genuinely satisfying. Repeating them produces something like pleasure, calm, or focus. This is called echolalia. It's not a tic and it's not meaningless. It's your brain using sound as a self-regulation tool. Your internal DJ keeps spinning the same record because that record is working. It's not something to stop. It's something to understand. Tip: if you have a phrase or sound on repeat and it's helping you focus or feel calm, there's no need to fight it. Let your internal DJ play. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And number 2 connects to something even deeper. Because the way your body seeks comfort, through sound, through sensation, through pressure, isn't random. It points to something about how far your capacity for feeling actually reaches. Here's number 1. You're at the grocery store and you notice an apple, bruised, sitting alone at the edge of the display. Something in your chest tightens. If I don't take it, no one will. So you put it in your cart, not because it's the best one, but because leaving it felt wrong. You have a hard time throwing things away, an old shoebox, a card from someone you're no longer close to. Tossing it feels like a small betrayal. You apologize to furniture when you walk into it. You arrange objects on your desk so none of them are turned away. This is hyper-empathy, and it completely dismantles the myth that autistic people lack empathy. Because for many on the spectrum, it's the opposite. Your empathy has no filter. It flows outward without checking whether the recipient is alive. Your capacity for compassion is so large it reaches things that don't need it, and gives anyway. That's not a disorder. That's one of the most human things about you. If any of this felt strangely familiar, Take a breath. There is nothing broken about you. You have a different operating system, one that took years to camouflage. Recognizing that these habits have names and biological explanations is the first step toward understanding yourself instead of fighting yourself. This video is a compass, not a diagnosis. If it resonated deeply, a mental health professional can help you go further. And that's not weakness. That's knowing yourself well enough to ask for the right map. Tell me in the comments which point felt most like you, and share this with someone who needs to hear that their quirks aren't flaws. They're just a different kind of logic. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We go deep here every time. See you next time.